Thank you, everyone. This is truly an honor. Jeff, thank you for your hosting tonight. Christian, thank you very much. I'm going to echo some of the things that have been said already. Let me first say thank you to Steve Donahue. As he said in the video, we've been friends for a long time, and our relationship has been in many different ways. Certainly as a friend, as an attorney, as counsel for the school, and dealing with issues regarding Fairfield Prep, as a football official, as a basketball official. So across a wide range of interactions, Steve has always been there and has been an outstanding representative for Fairfield Prep. I'd also like to thank the selection committee. I know the work that goes into it, and I greatly appreciate the time and the effort that they spend to take a look at Prep's outstanding athletes from the past and inducting them into this. And for me, it's an honor to be selected by them. To the development office, in particular, to Kathy Norrell and her staff, I know what work goes into these kinds of events because I organized them for many, many years in different sports dinners. So to Kathy and your staff, thank you so much. To the other inductees for this year, congratulations to all of you. I saw some of you play, some of you I did not, but I certainly heard all about the previous generations of athletes from Fairfield Prep. So I want to congratulate all of you for your outstanding contributions. As an administrator, you work with all sorts of people. First and foremost, you work with your headmaster, or now president, to help you run the programs and do the best you can do. And without those leaders at the principal or headmaster position, that would be a difficult task. All of them, bar none, were supportive to me, listened to me, sometimes agreed, occasionally did not, but they were always there, and they always wanted, for Fairfield Prep, the best for the student athlete. That's where my focus was, and I greatly appreciate the leadership that I got. Not only from the principals and headmasters and presidents, as the terminology changed, there were many, many other administrators who were of great assistance to me. I always had somebody that I could turn to for advice, counsel. I could turn to them for help with covering things. For example, I had to go to many different state meetings, state tournaments, or whatnot. And I always could pick up the phone and I could ask a Richie Magden or a John Brennan, I need your help. And they were always there. It's dangerous to name individual names, but those two guys and myself, I think we had a little triumvirate going where we could count on each other. So to those administrators, I appreciate everything that you did to help me do for Fairfield Prep what I could. Coaches. Over the course of the years, many, many coaches, head coaches, assistant coaches, volunteer coaches, they are the backbone, along with the athlete, the student athlete, that gets the job done. So to all of the coaches that I have ever had the opportunity to work with, thank you. I greatly appreciate what you have done, and if I was able to help you in some small way, then I feel fulfilled. Many of you had a history of Fairfield Prep, or a knowledge of Fairfield Prep, perhaps before you came here. Certainly, Brian, you did. Well, I grew up a long home run or maybe a driver away from here, literally a couple hundred yards down the street on the other side of North Benson. I never had to walk up and down it, but I crossed it many times to come here onto the property. And I remember the band shell and seeing concerts. I remember New York Giants when they trained here. But in all honesty, I had no clue about Fairfield Prep. I was geared to public school. I ended up going to Roger Ludlow High School. I think I had one friend from high school who lived down the street who went to Fairfield Prep, and that was it. I always took guidance and leadership from my coaches, one of whom was a gentleman named Emil Taft at Roger Ludlow. I kind of always wanted to be like an Emil Taft, and I thought he was a special person. I ended up getting a summer job working at a camp that he was co-owner of. And I met another gentleman who was the other co-owner named Fern Tetro, who was at Andrew White. And these were guys who all of a sudden became, although I didn't know him at the time, the Earl Avery of Fairfield Prep, the Joe Grosley, those guys. And I thought I would be on a track to go to Fairfield Public Schools. Well, as it turned out, fortunately, very fortunately, I got a phone call from Tim McGillicuddy. He was the acting principal at the time, and there was a position open, brand new position for a phys ed teacher, and that's what I had trained to do. I had gone to Southern Connecticut State College, I had gone to Springfield College, and I was influenced by those Springfield grads, Emil Taft and Fern Tetro. But where do I end up? I end up at Fairfield Prep. It was the best decision for me that I could have imagined. If you're going to do what I ended up doing, working over a 30-year period at a high school, then Fairfield Prep turned out to be the place to be. And everything that I've heard tonight about prep, pride, the tradition, everything, I feel now a part of. There's a certain part of you that says when you don't go to prep, well, you know, do you really kind of belong? Tonight was the night that I feel truly a member of the community. One of the things I had to try to establish early on was, what is my philosophy, or what is my role at Fairfield Prep? And as an administrator, particularly as the athletic director, it really comes down to doing a lot of the things that nobody sees. Steve, you see them because you were on the field as an official. Some of the coaches know because we interact and communicate, but a lot of people simply just don't know what goes into it. The university created a particular challenge because we had to share facilities, which we didn't own, which were difficult sometimes to negotiate for, but in the end, we managed to pull it off and to get those teams out on the field, whether it was Alumni Field or Alumni Diamond or Alumni Hall for that matter. So we got out there and we tried to do the things to make the programs viable, be able to give our student athletes the opportunity to be on the field and get their job done. Those are some of the things that, in my mind, are of significant importance. The interactions with the different departments of the university. I had to interact with the Office of Public Safety, with the maintenance and grounds, with the coaching staff at the university, which had their own priorities. And yet, with the cooperation of everybody, I think we got the majority of the things that we wanted to get at the time. I had recognition tonight, or I'm having recognition for two things. One is the athletic director, and the other is the tennis coach. I never really had intended to be the tennis coach, but when Father Ron Perry stepped down from his position, I decided, well, since I do have an interest in tennis, I would try to fill that job myself, thinking that perhaps along the way somebody would come on staff. Well, it turns out that that person didn't come on until roughly 2009. So for 20 plus years, I was the coach. We had a tremendous amount of success. We won multiple state championships. We won multiple singles championships, doubles championships, and we had a very high level of performance against our state competitors. And I'm extremely proud of that. But I realized clearly that the guys on the court, the ones hitting the ball and the serves and everything, those are the true heroes of those teams. And I'm glad that I was able to facilitate their performance and their success on the state level. The other aspect of my job, and I've mentioned it, is the athletic director position. I talked about facilities, I've talked about interacting with departments. Things that I had to try to focus on were budget, coaching staff, expanding coaching staff, increasing salaries for coaching staff. And I couldn't have done those things without the cooperation of the administration, which I've already mentioned. But those were some of the things that I thought was important to focus in on. And what we were trying to do was create the structure, the infrastructure to make them successful. Another thing that I'm particularly proud of, and I hope that Prep has benefited from it, is that we have expanded during my tenure anyway, and I think it continues, the offerings that Fairfield Prep presents to the student athlete. There was a time when you talked primarily football, baseball, basketball. There was a little bit of soccer. There was certainly swimming, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple. But there's skiing now. There's crew. There's sailing. There's wrestling. There's rugby. And it goes on and on. And some of those things just simply didn't exist. Now, I'm not saying I started the rugby team, and I'm not saying that I started any of those other sports. But what I realized was the importance of expanding the opportunities for the student athlete so that we could get a higher level of participation. I think we were hitting 70% of the student body engaged in some one sport at least. And that I thought was significant, because I flash back to when I first came on board. Earl Avery was the football coach, and I asked him for guidance. What do you want from me as a freshman? Take about 30 boys, identify 6 to 8 who will be the nucleus 4 years from now, give them half a dozen at the most running plays, and they were power left, power right, power up the middle. And you're probably not going to have a quarterback that can throw downfield, so just a little flare pass out to the side. That was pretty much it. So in the first couple of years, all these young men come out. Brian was one of them, and I had to cut kids. And that was kind of a very uncomfortable thing to have to do. In the back of my mind, and I didn't know how I was going to keep 100 kids on the freshman team, but I knew we needed more spots for players. And it wasn't always going to be in football. It was going to end up being in some other sport. Rugby came along. There were about 40 boys trying to play rugby. We had to find a way. We managed. Wrestling came along. If it wasn't for Fairfield Country Day, I'm not sure we could have pulled it off, because the nucleus of the starting wrestling team came from Fairfield Country Day. But that was the focus of what I tried to do behind the scenes. Create infrastructure, expand programming, engage more people, get the parents involved, and work with the administration to pull it all together and make it happen. So that was where I was coming from, and I hope that it was successful. I think it was, I feel it was, and I want to thank everybody for your contributions to Fairfield Prep. Again, I'll say, I am proud to be a member of the Fairfield Prep community. I'm very proud to have been recognized and honored by the selection committee. And again, I'll congratulate all the other inductees for their success and their recognition tonight. Thank you.